Welcome. I'm Dave Schiller, the founder of Aegis Wealth Partners, a fee-only financial planning firm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a CFP practitioner and college planning expert. In addition to the CFP, I hold the Certified College Financial Consultant designation in addition to several others. The CCFC is a post-CFP designation that deals specifically with education funding, financial aid planning, education tax credits and deductions, and student loan advising. What we'll be doing today is continuing our video on managing EFC. In this video, we'll follow the Davis family, and we're going to take a look at how we can use paying off debt to actually decrease the EFC. So again, you saw this slide on the previous video. If you haven't checked out the video on EFC, or you don't understand EFC very well, I would suggest taking a look at that video. But EFC is what schools believe you can afford. It's how aid eligibility is determined. And it's primarily driven by income and assets for both the parents and student. EFC is determined in what's called the prior year. So for a student attending university in 2024, the 2022 tax and financial information is going to be used in creating the base year EFC. So planning should be done before senior year. And here we have the Davis family again. Jen and Bob, again, married. They're married. They filed jointly. They have a son, Jethro. And we're going to take a look at the bottom row where they have an auto loan for $30,000, and they are currently paying $500 a month for that loan. Jethro, graduating in the spring of 2026, he plans to attend university in the fall of 2026. He has an unweighted GPA of 3.3, a weighted GPA of 3.4, and an SAT score of 1270 to go along with his 25 score in the ACT. He would like to be an engineering major. His list of schools are on the right-hand side, and again, he is open to other opportunities, other schools that he's currently unaware of that would be a good option for him. So the base case EFC for the Davis family, they have a federal EFC of $42,000. The institutional EFC is $30,000 and a consensus EFC of $23,000. We have the same $2,500 pre-approved tuition that we did in the previous video. And so for the in-state public school, Arizona State University, again, this is the same information we saw. He has a $34,000 cost of attendance. He qualifies for a $5,000 automatic scholarship, which brings a net cost of attendance to $29,000. So you take out the pre-approved amount, and his funding gap is $26,500, and for 4 years, it is $112,000. The Davis family uses loans to fund, to fill that gap, then the 10-year repayment plan would be nearly $1,250 a month, or $149,000 in principal and interest. The 25-year repayment plan, that's called the extended plan, drops the monthly payment to $724 a month, although the interest accumulates, and it is principal and interest of $217,000. Again, the 25-year repayment plan is getting into the same territory as a 30-year mortgage, so it's a very long time to be paying off student loans. So while the monthly payment is considerably lower, the idea of having to pay student loans for 25 years is something that is not very appealing for many families. So this is how these two types of loans work. The take-home pay for an engineering grad at ASU for Jethro's the year that he enters college is we're looking at $3,500, and so we have nearly or over a third of his take-home pay would go to service student loan debt. Now we go to San Diego State University. This is our public university as an out-of-state student. So we see the cost of attendance is higher for out-of-state students. He does not currently qualify for needs-based or merit scholarships. So the cost of attendance, we're looking at $48,000. Taking out the pre-approved tuition, we have a funding gap of $45,600 and a four-year total of $191,000. So if that gap is filled by student loans, the 10-year repayment plan, $2,100 a month, principal and interest is $254,000. And on the 25-year extended plan, quite a big drop in the monthly payment, but still $1,200, and interest and principal at $370,000. So while he does realize a slight bump in take-home pay as an engineer from San Diego State University, the cost of attending as an out-of-state student is really does make this a cost-prohibitive option for Jethro and the Davis family. And at the private university option that we want to look at, Stanford University, assuming that Jethro could get in, then he would receive a needs-based grant of $63,660, which drops his net cost of attendance to $25,659. We have the pre-approval amount that we've already directed towards paying tuition, and his funding gap is $23,159. His four-year total on the needs-based grant is $267,500 and a funding gap of $96,000. So while this is so far the best option for Jethro financially, we see that even with a 10-year repayment plan, it's still over $1,000 per month, and the total principal and interest is $128,000. And so it's still a pretty sizable amount of money of his take-home pay, which is the most of all of the universities, but for the purposes of paying off student loans, it's really not a great option for Jethro as well. So what we want to do is we want to see what would happen if we were to use some of the savings account. They have savings account, checking, they have some money markets and CDs. And so what if we took $30,000 from their savings account and paid off their auto loan? Currently, they are paying $500 a month. So what would happen in this situation is not only would the loan be paid off, and while that loan is not calculated as part of EFC, what you're effectively doing here is accomplishing a couple of things. You are removing $30,000 from their assets, so you're thereby lowering the EFC, but you're also freeing up $500 a month in cash flow. So when we look at that, again, you're going to lower the EFC, but that $500 per month, we're going to redirect that towards a monthly payment plan to each of the universities. So we see that the savings account has decreased from $60,000 to $30,000. There is no auto loan, and Jen and Bob are quite happy because they own their vehicle outright. And when they take a look at the impact on their EFC, they're pleasantly surprised that they've lowered their federal EFC by $2,000. It's now $40,000. They've lowered their institutional EFC from $30,000 to $29,000, and their consensus EFC has decreased by $1,000. What we've also done is we've increased the pre-approved tuition from $2,500 to $8,500. So again, the Davis family has said, if we can pay off this loan, lower our EFC, we're happy to take that $500 and and pay the university that Jethro attends, just pay them $500 a month, kind of like an installment payment. And universities accept this type of payment. Oftentimes there's a small installment fee to set it up, but you can just make monthly payments to universities. So we've done a few things here. We've lowered their assessable assets. We've lowered their EFCs across the board, and we've redirected $500 a month that they were paying towards their auto loan. We've redirected that towards Jethro's tuition, and they own their car outright. So all in all, a very good situation for the Davis family, a smart move for them, and something that they're very happy with. So let's take a look at how that looks at each of the universities that we've been watching. So our in-state public option, Arizona State University. The top part, again, does not change. The EFC is not affecting the merit or the merit or the needs-based grant for Arizona State. The pre-approval amount has changed to $8,500, and so we've lowered the funding gap from $26,500 to $20,500. When we go over to the 4-year total, we see that the pre-approval amount is no longer $10,000, it's $34,000. So we have $88,000 is the new funding gap, and instead of $112,000. So what does that do on a 10-year repayment plan if the Davis family uses loans to fill that gap? Well, it drops it from $1,250 a month down to $980, so more than $250 a month. But significantly, we've reduced their total payment for principal and interest by over $32,000. And the 25-year repayment goes from $724 to $569. So a much better option for the Davis family by making this move. San Diego State University, where Jethro would be an out-of-state student. The cost of attendance, net cost of attendance, does not change. And so what we see here is the funding gap drops another $6,000 per year from $45,600 to $39,600. And our funding gap over 4 years, instead of $190,000, it is $167,000. And again, the numbers are going to look similar in terms of the amount, the decrease on the 10-year repayment plan, as well as the total interest and principal. So we've dropped $32,000 off of the principal and interest, and about a little more than $250 per month on the 10-year repayment plan. So much better move here, but still very cost prohibitive for the Davis family. Now, this is where it gets interesting again with the private university, because as we saw in the previous video, when we've been able to lower that EFC for a school like Stanford, we don't only increase the pre-approval rate by lowering the EFC, we actually end up increasing the needs-based grant. So in this case, we've increased Jethro's needs-based grant. It's under a little bit less than $1,000, about $800. But the cost of attendance does decline. We've also increased the pre-approval rate, and so the funding gap, instead of $23,000, it's $16,000. And your 4-year total on the needs-based grant is over $270,000, so almost $4,000 more. And then the funding gap drops from $96,000 to $68,000. So what we see for Stanford University, if they were to use loans to fill their funding gap, instead of $1,025 per month, they're looking at $759 per month. So quite a nice drop there, nearly a 25% decrease in their monthly payment. But then they've also lowered their total principal and interest by over $30,000 as well. So again, they've paid off their car, and they're saving quite a bit of money over 10 years if they were to to send Jethro to Stanford University. So, we've changed the characteristics of assets in the sense that we've lowered the assets, and we've freed up some cash flow that we can use towards a monthly payment plan at each of these universities. So for the public schools, we lowered the total cost on borrowing for the funding gap of about $32,000. For Stanford, it was also about $32,000 less, but we also increased the needs-based grant that Jethro received of $4,000 over the course of 4 years. So that's free money for Jethro and the Davis family. And the standard 10-year repayment plan was $266 less per month. So, this has been an interesting exercise, how we've been able to make a very simple adjustment to in this case, their balance sheet. And so what we're going to do in the next video is we're actually going to bring both of the two case studies that we've done, the two situations that we've looked at, recharacterizing the asset from UTM-8 to a 529, and also paying off their auto loan and redeploying that $500 a month directly towards tuition. And we're going to see how both of those changes in tandem have decreased the EFC and what that looks like for their aid eligibility and the affordability of each of those schools. So hopefully you found this video helpful. We will be coming out with more videos, so keep an eye out on that. And if you haven't picked up your college money report, this is where you can begin to understand much more clearly where your family stands in terms of what your current pre-approval is for tuition, what your EFC is, what the funding gap is. You'll be able to do this for 3 separate schools of your choice. And at that point, you're going to be well ahead of most people who don't fully understand how all of these things work in tandem and in combination to affect the price of school. So highly recommend you do that. You can click on the link in the comment section. You can also head over to the website, aegiswealth.net. If you go to the resources tab, then go to the first sub-tab, College Money Report, and you'll find it there. So, so go ahead and do that. And if you like the videos and you want to keep updated when we release new ones, then hit subscribe and you'll get the notification. So thanks very much, and we'll catch you on the next video. Okay, take care.